07155. Merry Christmas.
So, Merry Christmas, thank you. What was the DOC number again?
It's 407515.
Okay, yes, that's right. Mr. Figuro, you're classified as a third felony offender. You're currently serving an 18-year sentence as a habitual offender for obstruction of justice. You were sentenced in St. Tammany on November 7th, 2022. Your parole eligibility date has passed. It was August 14th, 2023. You don't earn good time, so your full term date is February 14th, 2037. Does all that sound right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your case has been assigned to Mrs. Jackson. Would you answer her questions?
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. God bless you this morning.
How old are you, Mr. Figueroa?
I'm 45.
And you're serving an 18-year sentence for obstruction of justice, is that correct?
To be honest, it's attempt to obstruct, and it's being appealed as we speak. I should have never been sentenced. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And I show that you've been incarcerated approximately 4 years, 7 months.
Yes, ma'am.
What are your two other prior convictions, Mr. Figueroa?
Second-degree rape and carnal knowledge of a 16-year-old.
Are those your prior felony convictions?
Oh, you're saying what I had
Yeah.
before? Because
Yeah, you're a third felony offender, counting the one you're serving time for. So that means you have you had a simple robbery.
oh, yes, ma'am. Simple robbery and distribution. A distribution charge.
So, Ms. Figueroa, tell us what happened in the attempted obstruction of justice.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Tell me
TV.
what happened in the attempted obstruction case.
Oh, basically, I called my mom on the phone and I told my mom that I was incarcerated for an incident that I didn't do. And they say that I tried to obstruct justice, and I was found not guilty for obstruction of justice and found guilty of an attempt.
Well, that's okay. Well, let me back up. There were two runaway juveniles, one 17 and one 16. You were in a photograph with both of those girls. When the police asked you about the girls, where they were, what you knew about the girls, you told them that you didn't know the girls. And then when you were presented information about the photographs they had of you with those girls, then you said that you picked them up and drove them to Bourbon Street. Correct?
No, ma'am. All I remember is giving them a ride somewhere.
Well, no, sir. Did you tell the police that you knew nothing about either of those girls?
Yes, ma'am.
But when they showed you the photographs, then you said you dropped them off on Bourbon Street. Is that correct?
I remember dropping them off in New Orleans.
Ms. Figueroa, you can play games all you want.
I'm not playing any games. I'm just telling you what I remember. You asked me questions that happened 5 years ago.
That you dropped them off after they showed you photographs, after you had denied even having seen or known them, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
at that point, they were trying to find the girls because they were runaways, their parents were worried, and they asked you to provide some additional information, and you refused to give them information. And then later, one of the girls was found in a motel room. And she told the police that you had provided her with a number of drugs, and that while she was drugged, you raped her, and that you were selling her to other men for them to have sex with her. And so as a consequence of that, you have pending charges of sex trafficking, second-degree rape, and carnal knowledge. And those charges are set for trial on March the 3rd of next year. Is that correct, that you have those charges pending and they are set for trial on March the 3rd of next year?
Yes, ma'am. I've been sitting in jail 5 years for charges I didn't commit. We had a DNA test, and for the past 5 years, please consider.
Sir, I'm
Well,
not.
you're reading a police report that's falsified, and you're making me sound like I'm this monster. I didn't rape anybody. I didn't sell anybody for drugs, and I never gave anybody no drugs. I gave somebody a ride from point A to point B, and I've been punished for the past 5 years, guilty until proven innocent, when there's proof that I'm innocent. And when I go to court this month or in February, they're gonna throw the charges out. This is not right.
Good, that's when you deal with it.
And that's when you deal with.
I mean, so I'm just making me sound like I'm a monster, saying that I said this and I said.
Sir, you were convicted of attempted obstruction of justice. You had a trial. A jury listened to the evidence and they found attempted obstruction. They didn't find you not guilty. They found you guilty of a lesser offense, and you were sentenced to 18 years in prison. And you are here today for a parole. You are asking this board to grant you early release. And you are on mute.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
All right, we apologize. We don't know what's going on with the technical difficulties. But yes, ma'am. Yes,
You
ma'am.
went to trial, you were found guilty of attempted obstruction, and you received an 18-year sentence, correct? You were treated as a habitual offender, and you received an 18-year sentence. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. 18 years for a nonviolent charge. Correct.
Again. Why should we let you out of jail, Mr. Figuro?
First of all, I learned my lesson. Never again
What lesson did you learn?
to just not give anybody a ride from point A to point B.
Only thing you learned?
And that my fall partner that was incarcerated with me, he was younger than me. I had my own construction company. He lived with me for a little while. And at the end of the day, I shouldn't mix I shouldn't allow people that work with me stay with me. I mean, 5 years in prison is a long time for something you didn't do, but I've learned that you can't trust anybody. You can't just show love to everybody. It's not right. Because this is what happens. You know, my mom used to tell me all the time, if you can't be nice to everybody, it bites you on the ass. Here I am 5 years later. I've learned my lesson. They said that I attempted to obstruct because I called my mom on the phone and I told her the truth about the matter, never hiding the matter.
Figuro, that's not why you're charged with obstruction. You're charged with obstruction because when the police were looking for those girls, you at first denied even knowing them. And then they received information that you not only had picked them up, as you said, you had taken one of them to a motel.
I've
Now-
never taken anyone to no motels. That's what the police report says. If you're asking me if I learned my lesson, I learned my lesson. Yes, ma'am. No one deserves 18 flat years for nonviolent crime. It's
Okay.
not right.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Corporal, is there anything you want to add about Mr. Figuro?
While he's been incarcerated, he has not had a disciplinary record at all.
Good to hear. Thank you, sir. Mr. Figuro, is there a brief statement you'd like to make before we vote?
I was here for almost 5 years. For almost a year and a half, I was a tutor. All I do is try to help everyone in the dorm. I preach the word of Christ every day, prayer call every night. I always tell people to do what's right when no one's looking. I'm 45 years old. Yes, I was incarcerated for attempt to obstruct, but the allegations that I'm fighting are all, they're fake. It was all made up. I pray every day for the victim. She said that things happened to her. That was not my fault. I'm begging y'all. My mom's about to pass away, so let me go home and be a grandpa to my kids and continue to live this life that I'm living for Jesus.
Okay, well, thank you, sir. We appreciate your remarks. Is the panel prepared to vote? Mrs. Jackson?
Ms. Figueroa, I'm not sure what lessons you've learned, but I'm not convinced that you've learned any at all. You keep referring to this as a nonviolent offense, but a 17 or a 16-year-old girl was subjected to something that person should not have been subjected to.
Well, with all due respect, ma'am, I gave someone a ride. I never gave anyone any drugs.
Figueroa,
Yes, ma'am.
wasn't a question. She's finishing her vote.
Mr. Figueroa, I don't think you're ready. I don't think you've had any programming that really addresses your underlying issues. You do have pending charges, and those are set for trial shortly. And so my vote today is to deny.
Mr. Rochelle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Figueroa. When an offender was facing pending charges for child trafficking for sexual purposes, I'm not about to release you. Therefore, I'm going to deny your request.
Mr. Figueroa, my vote is also to deny for the same reasons that's already been stated. So today, sir, your parole's been denied. We wish you well. Good luck to you.
So I have a question.
Concludes our business, I believe, at your facility. We're going to sign out at 9:47.
When you think you've seen it all, you see this. Man, I mean, he was so insistent on his innocence for a second. I was like, maybe he is. I mean, how can you be that dumb at a parole hearing, to take the parole hearing the way he did, to handle it the way he did, if you're just not enraged because of how innocent you are? But man, no, we're going to go over some other reports, and I still don't get how someone can jump into a parole hearing the way he handled it. And then I was shocked when I heard that he had no disciplinary write-ups, because with that attitude and that lack of self-control, how is that possible, frankly? But I think it only re-solidifies the fact that he probably is who he is, because it's those kinds of people with those kinds of offenses that don't get write-ups for some reason. It was interesting. Richard put notes on this specific case and said, for what he's done, it's strange that, in so many words, that he basically said it's the second time that he saw someone with an obstruction charge in lieu of the terrible things he's charged with. But it turns out, and Richard doesn't miss anything, but so I was curious too, and it turns out he still needs to go to trial for it, right? So they got him on the one obstruction charge just to keep him there long enough, I guess. It's quite interesting how they did that. So Louisiana State Police Troop N responded to a call on February 2nd at the Sheraton Hotel on Canal Street. When troopers arrived, they found that one of the subjects they were interviewing was a missing 16-year-old girl. The juvenile was listed as a runaway in our computer system. Through interviews, troopers found the juvenile had been beaten, drugged, sexually assaulted, and pimped out by several different men in the past several days. Troopers immediately notified the Louisiana State Police Bureau of Investigation Special Victims Unit, who arrived and assumed the lead in the investigation. The juvenile was taken to local hospital for medical evaluation and reunited with her family. You know, you run away at 16, you think you're going to have an adventure, and then that's what happens. It's just a nightmare. As detectives from Special Victim Unit continued their investigation, they identified 3 suspects from St. Tammany Parish who were involved in the juvenile sex trafficking. All he learned, all he learned was to not give someone a ride and to not be too kind to people. What a clown. Detectives began working closely with St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office, who were actively searching for a runaway 17-year-old identified through coordinated detective suspects. Figuro and Rudolph were both identified as individuals who drugged the juvenile with Xanax, opioids, and other narcotics, sexually assaulted her while she was incapacitated, and beat her. Mears was identified as attempting to recruit the juvenile into prostitution. Wow. On February 4th, all 3 suspects were located in St. Tammany Parish. Arrest warrants were obtained, and they were booked in St. Parish Jail for trafficking of child sexual purposes, second-degree sexual assault, and felony carnal knowledge of a juvenile. Mears was booked for trafficking. Louisiana State Police Bureau of Investigation Special Victims Unit, Federal Bureau of Investigation, continuing investigation, additional arrests are forthcoming. That's what he learned, though. I learned not to be a good guy. They kept saying this for 5 years for a non-violent crime. It's like, you know, they 5 years he served. They gave him what, 15 or 17 years. I mean, they threw the book at him. They basically were saying, we don't believe you for 1 second. You're not remorseful, and we are going to make sure that you are locked up for a long time. And then he's going to face this in trial. And man, can you, with 3 people, you know, you're going to have 1 person or 2 people take the stand against you, right? He's still insisting on his innocence, so he's probably not going to testify on the state. I'm just guessing here, but if I had to guess, he's going to go in for a long time because they're probably going to get someone to testify against him, just to guess. Man, if Richard can find info on his trial somehow, I would love to cover him and watch his downfall. But as he said, guilty until proven innocent. I mean, innocent until proven guilty. I mean, the truth is, the system is kind of weird where you are kind of guilty until proven innocent. But in this case, that's not true. I mean, he's guilty. He was found guilty by jury for obstruction. Here's another article Richard found. They have a lot of evidence against him. This is for tattooing them. They tattooed her face. One of the victims, age 16, was recovered from New Orleans hotel February, having allegedly been beaten, assaulted, drugged by several male perpetrators. Another girl, age 17, was also rescued after having been repeatedly pimped out. John allegedly gave her tattoos, including one in her left forearm and another below the left eye. The words "numb" etched into her flesh. Court records indicate that 2 other men identified have been arrested and faced charges of trafficking children. They he's what a parole hearing. I do feel bad for him. All he did was give them a ride. That's all he did. I don't believe it for 1 second, and neither did the board. That guy is just, there's something I think very wrong with him. And that's what it's like, how did he get no write-ups? How do you show up to your parole hearing and act like such a, like with, it seems no self-awareness and no tact, like that was going to work, to insist on your innocence, to call, that was going to work, to yell at Miss Jackson the way you were yelling. Gosh, man, she handled it like only Miss Jackson could. It was great. And if we do get more information on this, we'll share it with you. Maybe I'll, if Richard can find info on the case, I can put it up on the second channel, Man Do 2. If you're not familiar with it, check it out. It posts things outside of Louisiana on that channel, outside of the parole hearings. But with that, I'll let you go.
Classified as a fourth felony offender. Offenses: possession of PCP, possession of a firearm, or carrying a concealed weapon by persons convicted of certain felonies. Sentencing date: April 13, 2021. Sentenced to a total of 7 years. Parole date: November 19, 2021. Good time: May 3rd, 2022. Full term: February 18, 2027. Is this information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Marabella.
Mr. Dorne, good afternoon. My name is Tony Marabella. Your case was assigned to me, so I'll be asking you some questions. How old are you, Mr. Dorne?
34.
And how long have you been in prison on these charges?
Going on 2 years.
Okay. Tell me, as best you can, why you're in prison right now. What are the crimes that you committed that caused you to come back to prison?
A firearm
All right. What else?
and PCP.
All right. So tell me about your drug use.
It was bad, not anymore though.
It's not it's not bad anymore. How come is that? How is that?
Because I'm rehabilitating myself,
Well, tell me how you're rehabilitated.
taking classes.
Yeah. What classes have you taken?
I just completed welding, parenting. I'm in living in balance.
All right. Well, I'm looking at your record. And at first, when I saw your record, I said, wow, this guy's taking some wonderful classes. But you took those when you were in prison the last time. You had tremendous courses that you took before: victim awareness, pre-release, living in balance, all of those things. You get out, and within a short period of time, you get arrested twice with guns and drugs. Your mother called the police the first time. So tell me, what did you learn when you were in prison? You tell me, oh, now I'm cured. BS. Come on.
I learned
What's
a
so
lesson
different this time?
in the
You
streets.
took a welding course, and that's good. But how does that cure your desire to use drugs and carry guns?
Well, I got shot twice, so that's why.
You're a convicted felon. You can't carry a
Understand.
gun.
I understand. I gotta protect myself though.
And why the drugs?
I was using at the time.
You were using at the time you came to prison, after you took all of those classes.
Yes, sir.
So now all of a sudden it's different because,
I was going through some things.
well, tell me what things you're going through.
Whenever I got shot,
When did you get shot?
I shot in 18 and 19.
So how has that changed obviously it didn't change your ability to do drugs. You've been arrested more than 12 times, Mr. Dorne. You're 34 years old. You've been to prison. You've taken some of the best courses that we offer. You get back out and you go right back to it.
Ain't going back to it this time.
How many times you been to prison?
3.
How many times you said to a parole board or to anybody, a probation officer, I ain't going back again?
Made mistakes.
I hear you. Anything else you'd like to say?
That's it.
That's all I've got.
All right, thanks. So would you like to make any other statement, or are you good?
Good.
Good. All right. Panel prepared to vote?
Yes, I am.
Mayor Bella?
Mr. Dorne, you've got uniform law enforcement opposition. You're a moderate risk to reoffend. You've taken some very good programs while you were in prison the last time. You got out. You went back to doing the same thing you're doing. You took a welding class while you've been in prison, and that's a good thing. It's going to help you maybe make a living. You've got a good time date of May 3rd of 2022. So you're going to be getting out before long. I just encourage you to try to do as much as you can about your substance abuse, because if you continue to do the things you're going to do, you're going to come back to prison, and you're probably going to come back to a long time. And if you continue to carry a gun, you're going to get caught and you're going to come to prison. You've been very fortunate that they only charged you with attempted felon in possession of a firearm. The next time it might be felon in possession of a firearm, which carries 15 years. So my vote today is to deny, but I encourage you to try to better yourself. Good luck to you.
All right, Ms. Wise?
Young man, you got a bright future ahead of you. Take that welding trade and really make a difference. If you need to transfer, you can ask parole officer to let you transfer. You can go and live somewhere else and work with that skill where you don't feel like you have to carry a gun everywhere you go. But I concur with my colleague today. I'm not willing to, you're getting out in May. So best wishes to you. My vote is to deny for the reasons I already stated.
All right, that 2 votes to deny. I'm also going to vote to deny your proximity to your good time day. You should be out, not too terribly long. You also have law enforcement opposition and moderate risk. So 3 votes to deny today. Your parole's been denied. Good luck to you. We'll adjourn at 2:59 at Southwest.
Well, you probably won't be surprised to find out that he was arrested almost immediately after he got out on his good time release for a parole violation. It was May 17th. And yeah, his good time was 5-3. He was arrested 5-17. He lasted 14 days less if you include the day he got out and the day he got busted. And then let's see. Then he got parole violations in April. Then he got out and he got a violation on April 5th, 2023. And arrested on April 19th for resisting, also with a firearm. So thank you, Richard, for the info. There's like links this long that he dropped in, but that's a summary of it. I don't know if we'll get a parole revocation hearing or not. I don't know. Like it's not clear to me when they have parole revocations, when they don't. I'm guessing if it's his good time date. And it's, maybe we'll see a parole revocation, but I think it's a new charge, so we don't see it. I mean, because he had his because he completed his good time date, he's okay. You're not gonna have a revocation hearing, but yeah, are we surprised? I'm not surprised. Some people just like prison, or maybe they just need to grow out of it. But you keep giving these light sentences. I don't really understand how Louisiana is so strict on certain offenses, but pretty light on firearm charges. I mean, there are other states that you caught with a firearm, it's like mandatory 5 years. Louisiana, it just kind of seems to be like a little slap on the wrist. It's quite strange to me. But we'll move on to the next one.
A first felony offender. Offense, sexual battery. Sentencing date, July 21st, 2015. Sentenced to a total of 7 years. Parole date, June 24, 2021. Good time, not eligible. Full term, July 11, 2022. Is this information correct, sir?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Wise.
Okay, Mr. Nate, if you would, slide up a little closer to the mic. It's echoing pretty bad in there. Okay, okay, Mr. Nate, sex offender program, I see you hadn't completed them. What phase you in the sex offender program?
I completed it. I don't know why they didn't show that it was completed. I got my certificate and everything. And I checked with the guy that runs it here to get it posted to see why it didn't complete. He never got back with me. He just said it showed complete. So
You completed one phase of it. It's 4 phases of it, all 4 phases.
I completed all 4 phases. I have a certificate that I sent to y'all in the mail in my package and everything.
Okay, well, let's go on from there. During the time you're incarcerated, what are you doing now at the prison? Do you have trustee status inside the prison?
I had trustee status since 2015, the end of 2015. I started working in the kitchen as a baker, and from there I went to working on the hall as a hall man, and from there I went to work in the car wash for the compound. I got shipped to Webster Parish for this SO program, and upon that coming back, I returned back to my current job I had before I left.
Okay, let me ask you, your relationship with the victims in this case.
What you asking me? What's my relationship?
Yes.
That was my wife's niece.
It was your wife's niece.
Correct.
This went on for a pretty good while, didn't it?
In a sense, it happened roughly probably about twice, maybe 3 times.
Okay. If you were to get out, what job would you be taking?
I worked at Bancroft Bags for 6.5 years. I left there with good status. They told me if I ever wanted to come back, I could come back. Before I came to jail in 15, I worked at Sapper in Delhi. I had good status there. I told them my situation and everything, and they told me upon my release, come back and I'll be able to receive a job there.
Okay, well, what I have here is on 2/10/22. It shows the programs you have. And Bossier Sex Offender Treatment Phase 1, Bossier Sex Offender Treatment Phase 2, and that's all I have on the record. And that was that February the 10th. It was sent to us.
Did you receive my package with my certificate in it?
I'm going over here, but while I'm looking over here, I tried to locate everything I could. I couldn't find it. Where did you take phase 3 and 4 of the sex offender program?
Phase 1 and 2 was taken at Bossier. Phase 3 and 4 was taken at Bossier. We had a brief intermission between COVID breakout, and they quarantined us, and that might have been why they didn't post it. But like I said, I have a certificate in my package in the dorm. I didn't know I needed it because I figured everything was straightened out with that.
Well, I'm just going over there. You got other problems. You got strong law enforcement opposition to your release and different things like that. And where would you live? You told me you would live. Are you and the mother still getting along, or is that over with?
The kid's mother?
Yeah.
We still talking, we decided on a co-parenting, situation between the kids. Currently, I'm going through a divorce. But we're in good standings and, she encourages me and, I try to do the best I can to uphold that.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't have any other questions here. Thank you very much.
Okay.
At this time, anything you'd like to say to the board before we vote?
I just want to thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to, present myself and, hopefully, everything goes well and I get granted.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, your case has been signed myself. Today, I'm going to be voting to deny. You got very strong law enforcement opposition to your release. Very strong victims opposition to your release. And I think you need to work on your programs and write back. At this time, Mr. Roche.
Mr. Nat,
Yes, sir.
you have a full term date less than 5 months from now,
Right.
where you won't be on supervision, but you will have to register as a sex offender.
Right.
And I'm gonna let that process play out based on your proximity of your full term date. I'm going to deny you this morning.
All right, Mr. Nat, likewise, there's opposition from the entire legal community.
Board right now.
There's opposition from the victim and her mother, which is not not your wife or anything, and the proximity to your full term date. And Mr. Nat, one of the things that was disappointing today is that you didn't even acknowledge what you had done. You did not express any remorse for the harm that you caused that young woman. It was just, I've done this, and I'm ready to go home. Well, she can't go home from this. Okay, this is going to be with her for the rest of her life. And I hope you understand that, and I hope you take that into consideration when you're making choices in the future. All right? But you get out in July, so my vote today is to deny your early release.
At this time, I'm going to be voting to deny because of the same reason stated. Today, the board is voting to deny. The time is 12 p.m. That concludes our hearings. I want to thank each and every one of y'all.
I don't have much to add. I agree exactly with what Ms. Jackson said. There is no remorse. There is nothing. It's like, what's the big deal? We have no information. The only information that we have that Richard pointed out is that he's still locked up. So he did something wrong. We're not so sure. We can only speculate, but he did not get out. So at least our children are safe right now. But the DAs don't show up. They don't care. It's just a child. To think that this is his wife's niece, right? And how many times did he do it? Oh, 2 or 3. It's like, what do you mean 2 or 3? First of all, I call BS on that. And second of all, it's like just so nonchalant. Oh, it was 2, maybe 3. And you hear the trauma and you hear that it's just, nothing gets me more fired up than saying that the DA doesn't even take the time to show up and just on behalf of just do it, do it, do what's right. They don't care. They don't care. For the most part, there are exceptions. There are very few. There are so few we know them by name. We can count them on less than one hand. That's disturbing. But that's what's so powerful about doing these hearings. You can see who's real, who's not. You know, often these DAs, they make these press releases about how they're tough on crime, how they're protecting our children, and it's all BS. Whenever they get a chance for a press release, they do it. Sure, why not? But in reality, they don't care. And I don't know why they don't care. They don't care for whatever. I'm sure some of them have good reasons for. They're burnt out. The legislation isn't in their favor. They're overwhelmed. No. I don't know what it is. But here's where you need to take a step back and say no. These are our children. If you're too tired to take it on, then don't do the job. This is children that we're talking about. Can't make it up.
Classified as a second felony offender, offense, indecent behavior with a juvenile, 2 counts. Sentencing date, November 23rd, 2015. Sentenced to a total of 15 years. Parole date, February 1st, 2022. Good time, not eligible. Full term, 15 years. Is this information correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Ms. Teresa. Good morning, Mr. Trean. How are you?
All right, yourself.
Good. Thank you for asking. I'm good. My name's Alvin Roche, and I've been assigned your case this morning. We're going to start off by making sure I have your age correct. You're 38 years old.
Yes, sir.
And you are a second felony offender. And you are also a sex offender. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And you served 7.5 years of a 15-year sentence. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I see that you're currently in sex offender treatment. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You're in the 3rd phase of sex offender treatment?
I will be completed in 3 months.
So you'll be completing the 3rd phase of sex offender treatment in about 3 months.
Yes, sir.
How long before you enter the 4th phase of sex offender treatment?
The 4th phase, I will be completed in 3 months.
Okay, you say you're currently in the 3rd phase. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We test next week to go to the 4th phase. Yes, sir.
Okay. So what you're saying is that your test, and if you complete the 3rd phase with the testing, you'll enter the 4th phase next month and be completed in the next 3 months.
Yes, sir.
Okay, tell me what other programs you've completed since your incarceration.
I have completed going home, staying home, anger management, substance abuse. I am currently enrolled in GED. I would have been finished, but due to the COVID, they have shut that down for a while. It's starting back up very soon.
Tell me why those other programs are not in your record. According to my records, the only program that you've taken and completed is sex offender treatment.
I was at Dixon Correctional Institute, DCI, where I completed going home, staying home, substance abuse, and I forgot the other one.
Anger management.
I believe yes.
Have you taken any victim awareness?
Sir?
Have you taken victim awareness?
No, sir. I have not been to a facility where they offer that yet. I have been here for 5 years and they do not offer that.
And so you haven't taken Thinking for a Change also?
No, sir. I have too much time for most of the classes at this facility.
Okay, so basically, you have a victim who is mentally, physically, and emotionally affected by the crime you committed. It's to the point where she cannot even function, and you haven't taken victim awareness to even imagine what your victim is going through. And I'd like you to take thinking for a change also, because you have to change your mindset. You have an assortment of arrests contributing to the delinquency of a juvenile, criminal damage to property, theft, and of course, this offense you were arrested for aggravated rape and oral sexual battery, but you pled to indecent behavior. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it was reduced to that, yes.
Yeah. So the magnitude of your criminal background with contributing to the delinquency of a minor, the violent offenses of criminal damage to property, theft, you've been arrested 4 or 5 times, and basically you have not taken victim awareness or any other programs that would address this. Tell me about your substance abuse issues. When did you start using drugs?
I started using drugs at age 13. I have been sober, clean and sober for the last 5 years.
Okay. Tell me about the substance abuse program you took at DCI. What was the name of the program?
I don't know the name of it offhand.
So if you don't know the name of the program, you can't remember any of the material that you went over. How long was this program?
I believe it was called substance abuse at Dixon Correctional.
Okay. Was it living in balance?
No, sir, it was called substance.
What was it? Celebrate Recovery?
No, sir.
Was it Louisiana Risk Management?
No, sir.
Was it Residential Substance Abuse Program?
I believe that was it.
Okay. So what did you get out of that program?
Well, I learned that I had a problem. And I learned different ways of thinking and to program my brain to stay away from the triggers that did trigger those.
Okay. Name me 2 steps in a 12-step program.
First, you have to admit that you have a problem, and you have to change your people, places, and things.
Okay. Let me inform you that you have expressed opposition, and very strong expressed opposition, for the entire legal community. The judge that sentenced you has sent in a statement saying he's opposed to your early release. The DA's office is opposed. The sheriff's office is opposed. And the chief of police is also opposed in your jurisdiction. You have adamant opposition from the victim's family, and the mother of the victim and the school where she attends school has submitted a letter of opposition saying that this child is emotionally, physically, and mentally affected by the offense you committed upon her. And she can hardly function in a school day without crying and going to the counselor's office to regain her composure. I thought you needed to know that. Tell us about your transition plan. What do you plan to live and what do you plan to work?
I plan on living on the family property. And my brother has opened up a cafe, and I plan on working there until I can find another suitable job also. I plan on keeping 2 jobs.
Okay, where's your family property?
My family property is in DeRidder, Louisiana. My brother's cafe is in Jennings, Louisiana. And I plan on finding a job closer to my residence in DeRidder.
Okay, just make sure there's no playground, daycare center, school, church, or any other facility that caters to juveniles or children, because you won't be allowed to live there.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wise, that completes my interview.
At this time, I see there's a speaker. They're going to be speaking. Ms. Mosley, if you would, unmute your mic.
Yes, sir. My name is Monique
Okay,
Mosley.
ma'am, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Monique Mosley, and I'm Jonathan's sister. I'm the manager of the Economic Stability Office here in DeRidder, and I've been employed here for 19 years. As such, I have strong ties to this community and the people that reside here. I'd like to tell you a little bit of why Jonathan should be released and why I support this. Jonathan acknowledges his actions and behaviors that brought him to imprisonment. He demonstrates a strong desire to refrain from these behaviors in the future. He's had time to reflect on his past and how his actions have affected others. He regularly apologizes for the pain that he's caused during our phone conversations. He speaks positively about his release from prison and the difference that he can make as a productive member of society. Jonathan has a large family. Though his mother passed away while he's been incarcerated, our father and our many siblings are willing to help him, support him in any way that we can to help him adjust to life on the outside. Several of us reside on the property that he will be residing on, and we will support him in any way that we can. He has financial means to support himself already. He also has a residence and employment waiting for him when he's released. I believe that with the love and support of his family, Jonathan will make better decisions and will live a fulfilling life as a law-abiding citizen. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I was at this time, anything you'd like to say to the board? Jonathan, anything you'd like to say to the board? Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I hear you. I want to thank y'all for the time.
Okay.
And I really do deeply regret my decisions and actions, and I will continue to further my rehabilitation and my strong support of family. And thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, Mr. Roche will be voting.
Mr. Trean,
Yes, sir.
based upon adamant opposition from the victim's family and the emotional state of the victim as of now, opposition from the judge, opposition from DA's office, opposition from law enforcement, and I think you need additional programs like victim awareness, thinking for a change, and your sex offender treatment program is incomplete. My vote is to deny your request.
Ms. Bonnie Jackson.
Ms. Jackson, you're muted.
Hi, Mr. Trahan,
I've listened to you, and for the same reasons as Mr. Roche, my vote today is going to be to deny. There's opposition across the board from the entire legal community, opposition from the victim's family, and I think you need more programs. And as I sit here looking at you, Mr. Trean, I just don't think you understand how you devastated this young girl's life. You kind of brush it off as if it was just kind of, oh, well, that happened. But this is going to follow her for the rest of her life. And I'm hoping that when you take more programs, particularly victim awareness, you'll start to understand that what you have done will affect this woman for the rest of her life. And I think you need to come to that recognition. So today my vote is going to deny. I'm going to encourage you to stay and complete all phases of sex offender treatment. And I don't know if you have victim awareness available to you, but you certainly need to participate in that program. So good luck to you, but today my vote is to deny.
Trean, one of the things I want you to do is complete all those programs. Stay positive, work hard, and your day will be coming one day. But right now, I'm going to vote to deny strong law enforcement, and the same as my colleagues here today. Thank you very much.
We don't have any information on this case about what exactly happened, who she was in the relation, like, was she a relative? Was she, how old she was? But what I can tell you is that he was initially charged with aggravated sexual assault. They took a plea deal. Now, they ended up getting, a 15-year sentence, which is, whoa, hallelujah, Louisiana. That's a lot, right? Sometimes they just get a little slap on the wrist. But he took the plea deal, probably was facing, but just think about this. They said that they have to take her out of school. She break down and cry. So how old do you think she was, and how old do you think she is? She was probably just, we're talking about school. It doesn't sound like college. It doesn't even sound like it's high school. It's safe to assume that she was a little girl. And this wasn't his first offense. They just keep getting charged. These guys just keep doing it. And no one, and Louisiana just doesn't care. They just keep letting you do it over and over and over again. It's pathetic. It's sick. In this case, the judge said he's opposed. It's not often the judge comes out and says, I'm opposed. The DA says they're opposed. Of course, they won't show up and talk. That's too much to ask for from the DA, right? Too much to ask for. Well, you just need some more programs, a couple more programs, and then you can get back out into society. And like Miss Jackson said, this guy shows zero remorse. He doesn't care. He does not care. The idea that someone like this will be walking out in the street very soon. He's only 40 years old as it stands today. Even if he serves his entire sentence, he'll be, I think, 47 by the time he gets out. That's if he serves 100% of his sentence. And all he's going to have learned is try harder not to get caught. That is it. There's something very wrong with our system. People who do this to a child, cannot get these sentences, these minimum type sentences. It cannot happen. It has to stop. They are kicking the ball down the road. What is going to happen when he is out at 47 years old? Tell me. When he's your local barista? It's disturbing. The DA takes the time to write a letter, but they don't take the time to show up. Sick.
Cleo C number 375673.
Mr. Cryer, let me explain the process to you. At the appropriate, first, I'm going to read some information into the record. The board will then conduct a hearing, an interview with you. At the appropriate time, we will allow participants who have asked to speak. And at the end of that, we'll give you an opportunity to address the board before we vote. Do you understand the process?
Yes, sir.
Our speakers today are going to be your sister, Lisa Cryer Hall, your brother-in-law, Charles Grady, Leola Cryer. They're going to be people that are supporting you, but not necessarily speaking, are Leola Cryer, Carolyn Hall, Serena Hall, Freddie Hall, and Percy Rogers.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cryer, your DOC number is 375673. Your date of birth is 9/6/1966. You're classified as a first offender. You are currently in prison on the charge of attempted aggravated rape, and your sentencing date was May the 8th of 2000. Is all of that correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Freeman is going to be presenting your case. He'll be the first one to discuss this case with you. So would you answer his questions?
Yes,
Freeman?
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Quire, how old are you, Mr. Quire?
55.
And how long have you served on this sentence?
28 years.
Have you taken any classes since 2014?
No, sir. So I really can't read. I really can't read and write too good.
So have you completed any of the sex offender classes?
No, sir. I was trying to do it on the streets when I get out there in the free world. So when you would try to cast that charge like that, or the inmate get the offender of that charge. And I've been trying to stay away from that type of stuff there.
Okay. What education did you? How much education do you have, Mr. Cryer?
I dropped out of school in 6th grade.
6th grade. Have you tried to get education while you've been incarcerated?
I put in for it in 2005, but they never put me on for night school. I signed up for it.
Can you tell me about the offense of which you are incarcerated for? What happened? What led to it?
Well,
Things
sir,
of that.
I asked God forgive me and his family for forgive me too, for my family and their family. I'm sorry about it.
So what happened? What did you do?
They say I had raped somebody, but I asked them to forgive me for it.
Okay. They say, what do you say? Did you rape somebody?
They say I had raped somebody. My in-laws.
Did you rape somebody?
Yes. My in-law. Yes, my in-law did that to me.
They did that to you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I mean, do you take any responsibility for what happened to your stepdaughter?
Yes, sir. I forgive them. I forgive myself for that. I ask them to forgive me. But God, I say.
What's going to be your transition plan if you're discharged? Where are you going to live?
I'll be living by my house in Greensburg, Salina Parish.
Okay, so you still own a house over there?
My father left me one for he died last year.
Okay. What do you plan to do as far as work?
I do landscaping work.
Okay. Electrical work, that's pretty complicated.
Landscaping.
Landscaping, he's saying.
Landscaping, okay. Well, get your GED if you do electrical. Okay, what is your job in the prison?
I work in the shell plant. Trean Enterprise.
Okay. Mr. Cryer, I see you've had 53 write-ups in a total of 28 years. I mean, tell me about this. I mean, did you have Justin? Did you have Justin?
I was young coming through the system. I really didn't feel the system out, but now I'm feeling it out. How to do the time and stay out of trouble now.
When was your last write-up?
Since 2015.
What would you say to the victim if you had a chance to talk with her?
I would tell him I'm sorry. And God give for my forgiveness.
All right. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Warden, can you tell us anything about Mr. Cryer?
Yes, good afternoon. He's been here a long time in DCI, so I know him, and you know, he is a hard worker. I give him that, and he tends to stay out of trouble. I am concerned that he hasn't taken those classes, the sex offender classes, and even education and things like that. Like I said, he tends to stay out of trouble, but I think the programming side of things he should have worked on a little more.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cryer, it looks like you've taken some programs. I mean, you've taken anger management, personal development, reentry support, money management. Did you take all of those programs?
No, sir.
You didn't take any?
I saw it too.
It looks like, I don't know, your report, it looks like in 2014, you took a bunch of programs. Do you remember that?
Yes. You know, it's been a long time though.
I understand that, but you were able to take those programs.
Yeah.
You understood them. I mean, you didn't have to.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so it's really important that you take those sex offender treatment programs.
Yes,
Sure.
but like I was telling you, about I'm sorry. The other defender did defender about the charges on another inmate. I've been backing away from that. I don't like getting myself in no trouble.
I understand. I understand. Well, thank you, sir.
Excuse me, sir. Just to clarify the record, I'm not seeing what you're seeing with those classes. I don't know if I'm missing something here.
I'm looking, I don't know if you have the same thing we have, but I'm looking on page 84 of our package. And it says certified programs, personal development, completion date 2014, problem solving and decision making 2014, anger management 2014, victims awareness, employment skills, job placement, money management services.
Classes, go to church.
Okay. I'm not seeing, okay, I had to look, because all I had was pre-release, and then he did some groundskeeper and some chair framing stuff, so it may be something. I'm sorry, I may be not seeing it.
That's okay. It was a long time ago, and it's got his name on it. I mean, DOC number 375673. Is that your DOC number?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that pre-release modules, maybe? Is that what they may have written it wrong? It may be those modules.
Yes.
Pre-release modules, is that what?
Oh, that's what that is.
Okay. Yeah, he did do the pre-release, 100 hours of pre-release. There's 10 modules, and each module has one of those titles that you're mentioning right there.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's what it was. Okay, maybe that's what it was.
And we don't see like that.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Cryer. We have several speakers. Is Ms. Lisa Cryer? Ms. Lisa Cryer, if you would please unmute your microphone and tell us what you'd like us to know about your brother.
Yes, sir. I'm Lisa Cryer. I'm Cleo's sister. And throughout the time, you know, that I have known Cleo and being a sibling of Cleo, we all realize that in life, we go through things in life because we fail to acknowledge and understand that we have to walk a fine line and we have to live up to the expectations that God would want us to live up to. But when we are ones at that point in our life where we become disobedient, we realize and we know that there are consequences behind that, because we was raised up in a home of Christians to fear God and to obey what God would want us to do. And that include in obeying the law. So with that being said and all, so we acknowledge that consequences and punishment come along with that. And I realized throughout the time, even with me making visitation with Cleo throughout the time that he has been there, there were times when I first started visiting him that he had issues. He had anger problems. He didn't want to obey the rules that was going on in the system and all. But when time went on and as Cleo began to grow and understand, I seen a great difference in him. I seen him come from being a child with no sort of understanding, even though he have a lack of learning ability as far as with reading and writing. And coming from the background and the culture that we're from, I'm not making excuses for him, but when you tend not to be able to catch on, and when you're in a classroom of 30 people, and those 30 people they're moving too fast for you. So you turn to get a lack of shortage of learning abilities. But with that being said, you know, I see that he is not the same person. I've seen him come from being good. I've seen the good in him. I've seen the bad in him. I've seen at a point in his life where he was tended to be hard-hearted, but I seen tenderness. I see tenderness. I see him being humble right now and obedience. And I see, even with me coming in there at the time we was able to visit him talking about working and keeping himself attentive to a job to keep his mind from being idle and also staying out of trouble. And I tell you, sometimes people don't understand. It takes a process for people to change their life. But you can't change your life unless you learn the will of God and unless you begin to understand the law. And that I see that he does. He have become that man that looks like that he wants to move forward. And with that being said, there are others that has been given the opportunity to make parole. He has like 3+ years to serve before he have done that full term. And they have been out on parole. I've murdered, sex offenders, all different other sorts of people, robbers and all.
Ms. Cryer, Miss Lisa, can we get you to complete your sentence, your statement, please, for us? Thank you.
Ma'am?
Can we get you to conclude your statement?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we'll hear from Mr. Charles Grady.
Right here.
Mr. Grady, tell
Yes,
us what
sir.
you'd like us to know. You're an in-law to Mr. Cryer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell us what you'd like the board to know.
I'd like the board to know that I missed him a whole lot. He's a fine man, just got caught up. He's a good person. And he's been in there long enough. He needs to come home.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grady. We appreciate your comments. Mr. Cryer, is there anything you'd like to say to the board before we vote?
I appreciate y'all to help me. I'm trying to God, y'all to help me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cryer. Is the panel ready to vote?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Mr. Cryer, it's just hard for me, and I understand your learning disabilities, but without any sex offender treatment, I'm gonna have to vote to deny.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mr. Burchett?
Good morning, Mr. Cryer. How are you?
I'm all right, sir.
Mr. Cryer, I want to be real with you. I want to give you a taste of reality. Right now, I think you've served right at 22 and a half years. You have 2.5 years left on your sentence. And if you don't do something about taking programs, the only program that you complete is 100 hours pre-release. You need to step up, start taking your sex offender treatment. There's no panel that you will face that will not require you to take sex offender treatment. You need to take victim awareness. You need to take substance abuse. You need to take the basic courses so when the panel looks at you, they can see a person who is trying to rehabilitate himself. I understand learning disabilities, but I've seen many offenders over the last 6 years that didn't have a GED, that couldn't read, but they had programs. Because I'm almost sure Warden Bickham and any other institution in the state of Louisiana would supply assistance to you in taking those programs. You need to make the first step. If you want to be considered next time around, you need to finish some programs, especially sex offender treatment. You have a static 99 of a +2. That tells us that you have a moderate chance of reoffending. I like to see a static 99 of 0 or minus. Your static 99 is a +2. That's another red flag. You don't have a GED. You need to talk to Warden Bickham, classification, and see if you can get started on programs. Because you're never going to get parole unless you make an effort. Based on everything I've said, STAG 99 and lack of rehabilitative programs, I would deny your request this morning.
Mr. Cryer, you've got some great family support. They really care about you. They have seen a lot of improvement in you, and I believe that you're not the same person necessarily that you were that you came to prison. But you came to prison for a specific crime, and that's a sex offender crime. And that's a crime that is very significant, and they're very important rehabilitation programs that need to be taken by someone with that crime. And sex offender treatment is one of those. And I understand that you have very much difficulty in understanding and in reading, but those programs are very important. You can listen, you can hear what they say. And I'm sure the warden can assist you in getting someone to help you do those things. But those things are very important for you to do. Now, there was another reason that you mentioned, and that is you didn't want to be around people who had committed those kinds of crimes. I'm not sure what that's about, but you really need to come to grips with that and realize that you need to take those classes. Otherwise, you're going to wait till your full-term release date, which isn't that far down the road, but necessarily you're not going to get out until you take those classes. So, it sounds like you've worked pretty hard. You need to do a little more and try to get into those classes. So you've got 3 votes today to deny, but we're encouraging you to get into those classes so you can be helped, not just so we check off something on the box, but you need to understand and listen to what you did and what that little girl went through. I'm not so sure you understand it. So good luck to you, sir.
God bless you too.
Yeah, you can't make it up. He did definitely say, "I forgive her." Was that a slip of the tongue, or did he actually mean it? I could go with both. It wouldn't surprise me if that's what he meant to say. It's all these years in prison, and he hasn't done anything. He doesn't take the sex offender programs. Not that and he says he doesn't want to be around the people. And it's like, meanwhile, look what you did. Look what you did. And we don't have details. The DA doesn't show up, but he has been serving a long time, which is more than we normally expect. And if you're wondering why it says, well, his charges were attempted, that's only because they do like plea deals, which is so ridiculous. It's like, no, you actually did sexually assault her, but just take a plea deal, call it attempted. That we see that so often because you can get a lower sentence. But, the victim's not represented here. Not to the extent that I think it should be. And it's good to know he forgave her though, right? And the DA doesn't show up because what do they care? But it's at least you could be thankful that it's not a 5-year sentence or a 2-year sentence but what type of assurance do you have that when he gets out that he's just not going to reoffend again? There's none. And the idea that he has, their risk score stuff is bogus, completely bogus. But the idea that he has a high risk score means that something has got to be really wrong, right? I mean, I don't know how to interpret it. I think they're all a high risk score, and the risk score thing is a joke. But I wonder what it is that he said. Maybe he's just not smart enough to manipulate the board properly. Maybe he, the testing, maybe he just says things. Maybe he meant it when he says he forgives her. Maybe he believes that she seduced him. And that's why he has a +2 risk score. That's possible. We just don't know. But he is out. He is out. This hearing took place in 2022, and today it's December 2023. The information I have, it seems that he's out. So he took those programs, I guess. I don't know. We'll move to the next one.
As a first felony offender, offense, forcible rape, sentencing date, May 13, 2013, sentenced to 10 years at hard labor. Parole date, August 15, 2021, good time, not eligible, full term, February 15, 2023. Is this information correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Parole.
Hello, how you doing? How you doing?
I'm very fine, man.
Good, good. Tell me how long you've served on this 10-year sentence.
8 years and maybe a month and a half. something like
8
that.
years and a month and a half?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What was your relationship to the victim?
I haven't heard anything.
No, I'm saying no, at the time that you committed the rape, what was your relationship to the victim?
She and I was like, her dad and me were very close friendship. And then later she and I become boyfriend and her girlfriend. And we have been communicating for a long time.
What you mean by long time?
Long time, we know each other for a long time.
Now she was like 13, right?
I heard 14 or 13 or something like that. Yes, ma'am.
So how long because you've known her daddy since she was what age?
I I really didn't pay attention, about 3 years or maybe 3 or 2 years.
Yeah, okay, she was, an infant, a little bitty baby.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then y'all start communicating. How old was she when y'all start communicating?
That's hard to remember, probably 13 or something like that. I was 25 when I got arrested. I think 25, 36 or something like that.
You was arrested in 2011 and you were born when? You were born in 85.
Yes, ma'am.
So you recognize that as a minor, she couldn't be in a relationship with anybody.
That time I really couldn't think.
Because for the relationship to start, you had to go after her, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I want to inform you, as a part of this process, we reach out to the law enforcement community where you were convicted to get their opinion about early release, and there's opposition. The DA's office, the sheriff's office, the PD, they are opposed. They are against you getting out early. Probation parole was unsuccessful in reaching the victim. They've moved away and don't want to be contacted. But the lady that was an interpreter during all this event, they were able to successfully reach her. And she told us that that young lady was severely traumatized about what happened between you and her, and that she had been in counseling for quite a while. What do you say to that? Have you ever given any thought to how this impact that young girl?
I have no idea, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any sisters or brothers?
I have a sister, yes, ma'am.
Do you have any children?
I have a daughter.
So if you could just put yourself in that mindset, if something like that had happened to your daughter, that would help you to kind of surmise. We can't know, no. We cannot know, no, that's for sure. Only she knows. But the report that we received was that it was a very, very traumatic situation. And it had long-term impacts on that young lady. And I think it's important that you know that. Tell me what other programs, what programs have you taken since you've been down? These
When I was started at Richwood 2013, I took every program they offer for me. And
so just name a few of them that you took. Just name the ones that did the most to you.
Saturday Recovery.
Okay.
Faith and Malakadet. And SOTP class too. I take twice. Again.
What is our SOTP? What's that?
Defender program, treatment program.
Okay. Okay. You completed that Ridgewood?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
You completed the sex offender program at Ridgewood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Tell me something after you've completed that program twice. Tell me something you know now you didn't know before.
I had a lot of, since I was incarcerated, I learned a lot of stuff, and then about spiritually, about myself, what I shouldn't do, what I should do. So wrong from right, I had learned a lot of, it's opened my eyes to me. So I realized that I did everything on the street was wrong. Now I try to get better person myself.
Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you. Can I hear from the staff now? Y'all want to give us an update on how Mr. Samuel's been doing?
I've never had any issues of Sam. Just, he did the program in our sex offender deal, which I'm sure Jayson will talk about in just a minute. But I haven't really remembered receiving any kind of write-up or any kind of problem out of Sam, and he's been a kitchen worker since he finished our program.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Lungsane started sex offender treatment in February of 2020 and graduated in January of 2020. Graduated January 29th of 2021. And so that's our year-long program. He completed all 4 phases of sex offender treatment, along with the other classes that go with that. That's like thinking for change, anger management, victims awareness. There's a couple, but they're leaving me right now. So he completed all of those.
Good, good. All right, and you found his participation to be appropriate, and he was engaged. What's your impressions?
The only note that I have of any trouble was that he did victims awareness twice. The first time victims awareness was done, the book was not found to be satisfactory, and so we put him in it for like maybe another month or 2, I believe it was, until graduation. But all of his testing scores were fine, and that material was mastered by the end of it.
All right, thank you. Because that's all I had, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else have anything to say on behalf of Ms. Samuel? At this time, Samuel, if you would go ahead and give your statement before we vote.
He's asking if you have a statement to make before they decide or deliberate on a vote.
No, I don't think so.
Like something you're wanting to say about, your incarceration or a reason you think they should vote in favor of you getting out.
Is anything you'd like to say before we vote? Anything you'd like to say before we vote?
Yeah, I would like to say one thing. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I really want to go home, because I've been incarcerated ever since I have incarcerated. Every single day, I try to get better myself, stay away from some negativity stuff, try to live positively. Also, when I get out, I try to what I can do for community better than before I did. Something that I didn't do before, it made me realize that who I really supposed to be a man, not for myself, not to my family, to others. So that's only one thing I really want to say. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, the board will be voting.
I was glad to hear that, Mr. Samuel. I'm glad to hear that. And I'm also glad to know that you've taken sex offender treatment twice, you said, and victim awareness. However, today, when I asked you about victim awareness, you didn't seem to have any awareness. That's concerning for me. Today, my vote is to deny because you have strong law enforcement opposition and the nature of the offense and the impact it had on the victim. For me, my vote is to deny.
Okay. Mr. Marabella?
Mr. Lungsane, after listening to the hearing and reviewing your record, my vote is the same as Ms. Wise for all of the same reasons.
At this time, I'm going to be voting to deny because of the same reason my colleague. Board decision day was to deny your parole. The time is 12:13 p.m. We'll adjourn here. Thank you.
Wow. Well, isn't that scary? Let's Richard provided information that could be helpful, information we can't really, this hearing was what it was, but he was 25 and she was 13. 25 and 13. Now, Richard found more information, which was that there's a lack of information. He's not listed anywhere as we have no information, no web links, nothing. He's not listed as a registered offender. So it's possible he was handed over to ICE and deported, although it's also possible that his last name has different spellings, which I tried many different variations, but got nothing. But it is it's scary. It's scary. You know, you get a 10-year sentence, and the likelihood of him reoffending, I don't know. I would say probably as high as it gets. So you're just kicking the ball down the road, and whether he's reoffending from his native country or whether he's reoffending here, to me, it's the same thing. It's a child or children or many children, and I just don't understand how you can get such a hefty charge and only have to serve 10 years. You'll never be able to explain that to me. But he's lucky he didn't have possession with intent to distribute. He might have more time. With that, I'll let you go.